Minnesota Pubcast. We're coming live or recorded, depending on when you're listening to this, from O'Gara's Bar and Grill in St. Paul, Minnesota. We are in the most appropriate spot for this week because it is St. Patrick's Day week.
And you aren't going to be here.
I'm not going to be here.
I'm going. You always go to town this week, you say, I think?
Well,
Did I get that right?
It's overlapped the last 2 years. I just happened to go to Arizona for about a week in March. And unfortunately, I haven't planned ahead enough where I'm here for St. Patrick's Day than going to Arizona another week. Because, I'd rather be here for St. Patrick's Day, but I'm not going to say no to Phoenix.
Well, have I told you? I don't think I knew last night what I'll be doing on St. Patrick's Day.
You won't be working.
No, I am working.
You're working.
But where I'm working, it's actually a pretty
You
cool
told
thing.
me.
On the street.
Yeah.
Yes,
On the street.
on West 7th.
Jason's going to be working.
Slanging booze on West 7th. Come on down.
Jason McGovern's going to be working the street.
Oh, my
the
God.
Irishman.
It's going to be so fun. It's going to be so fun.
That's going to be awesome.
I'm looking forward to it. The forecast, I keep hearing so many conflicting reports on what it's going to be. Weather Channel keeps it around 55, which would be
I'm going to pull it up. I'm going to pull up the weather right now.
But somebody was trying to say 45 today on the radio. I'm going, no, it can't be 45. Minnesota's going to handle that. But
I see, is it Saturday this year?
Yeah.
Is it a big
Saturday
Saturday
they're
fest?
doing it on Saturday, the festival.
When is the actual?
Tuesday.
17th.
17th.
It's going to be 61 degrees for a high on Saturday, 40 for a low. Sunday, it's going to be almost 70 degrees again in Minneapolis, St. Paul. I'm going to be in Phoenix. Look at my forecast.
Yeah, 84 looks nice.
Fuck. 90, 90, 90, 91, 91, sunny. Sorry, guys. I'm sorry. But you know what? I love 60-degree weather.
Well, and I know that, I'm going to Florida in a month, so it's not killing me either, but I don't get 10 days of Florida. But, actually, the whole week I've been looking at this Saturday, Sunday thing going, God, why can't Saturday be the warmer day and Sunday be whatever?
Whatever.
But you know what? I'll make my money Saturday and just go spend it all on Sunday.
You're going to be
I'll enjoy
moving and talking and dancing and drinking, and it doesn't matter if it's 55 or 60.
No.
You'll be fine.
And I guess, again, it's going to be as you were there, and I walked down the street on my way out. For Crashed Ice, they had all kinds of stuff going on the street. They're doing that for this, too. So, I've heard, I don't know this for sure, but I've heard Red Bull's doing stuff out there. And then I can only imagine what other vendors, and, Afton Alps was out there for Crashed Ice. So who knows what could be out there this time. So come on down to West 7th. I'll be out in front of Burger Mo's. Come say hi. But that'll be fun. And so while we're at it, too, we have all of kinds of stuff going on at our great sponsor, O'Gara's. It is their anniversary week. They're going back to their 1941 prices because that's when they opened.
That's bomb.
What do we got today? Today would be Thursday, March 12th. Today. So if you're listening live, I know there's always a few of you there. We've got $1.50 burger baskets.
Damn.
And then,
why don't we have burgers in front of us, Jason?
I work at a burger joint. I get burgers.
Hey, what do they have for tots?
There's no tot special.
Oh.
I'll just let me get to them. No tot special. But we can get some tots if you want some tots. Tonight, too, and this is a big deal. Miss Shamrock is being crowned at 6 p.m. So that's a big
Come on
Holy
down
shit.
to
Come on down to
O'Gara's
O'Gara's. My God.
this weekend for St. Patty's Day and their
You gotta stroke your sponsors. Gotta
74th
stroke your
anniversary
sponsors.
celebration. It's perfect.
Sorry, distracted. All right. Now, let's get into something serious quick, and then we're going to lighten it up, and then we might go back to serious.
Lost our what?
Right now, it says we are not on. And this happened last week. We had a couple of times we were down. We're back up now. Sorry, folks, if you just dropped out there.
That's annoying.
That is annoying. Don't know what's wrong with the old O'Gara's internet. But anyway, so we have the stuff that went down in Ferguson again. Was this last night or early this morning? I guess.
I got the New York Times alert on my phone at like 1:45 in the morning, I think. So it happened soon before that.
All right. Well, yeah. Here is. Have you heard this audio yet?
No, I haven't.
There's audio of the actual shots being fired. This audio is disturbing for multiple reasons. That part, there's a moaning you're going to hear after it. So I'm assuming the cop that was shot was somewhere nearby.
Sure.
And then you're going to hear some fuckstick say something that's also very disturbing.
Okay.
We'll play it for you, and we'll react after it in just a moment.
Oh, shit. Okay, there was just gunfire and now cops have guns drawn.
Did you catch the comment?
Yeah. Yep.
Guys, people, everyone listening, I understand that there's an issue in this country, that we have a police issue, that we may have a problem with some problem cops, with bad cops. We talked about this last night. I think it's more of the system, but whatever, however you look at it. Shooting them is never a response that's going to help anything. But B, I was more taken aback by what that guy said than the gunshots themselves. And the fact that, from what you can tell, and the video is very blurry, but you can kind of get an idea of what's going on. Basically, just people were scattering.
Who was the video from?
Just somebody on the street. But it looked like they had a light, so I can't tell if it was their cell phone or if they actually had a good camera or something.
It could have been their cell phone.
It might have been a news reporter, for all I know. But that was just on YouTube. But
it didn't sound like a news reporter
exactly,
to me. But,
cursing like that and whatnot. Know. And they were across the street, basically from the police department, and there's 20 cops standing there, 15 cops standing there. So this guy that yelled that is yelling that at the 15 cops with their guns drawn at the moment.
It's so disturbing to me because, A, you don't know who shot them. You don't know we still don't know who it was. We still don't know if it was a black person. We don't know if it was a white person. We don't know who it was. And these guys are just out there doing their job. And the protesters are allowed to be there as well. And everyone, for the most part that night, it was fairly peaceful. And people were doing what they're allowed to do.
This was toward the end of the protest, apparently.
And you have one person or whoever it turns out to be that has decided to take matters into their own hands in the direction that we did not want it to take from the very beginning of this. We've been kind of waiting for it to happen, but you hoped that it never did.
Well, what I find remarkable about this is not only did somebody take shots at two cops at a protest in front of a police station, but that says enough about what's going on down there, but that somebody had the balls to just basically yell out, "Got what you deserved."
Right. Yeah, and that's disgusting to me.
But to me, that's saying I don't think you and I have a fucking clue what is going on down there. You and I have never lived in a place where that would happen.
I mean, for the most part, Ferguson is a small town, which is the most fascinating part about this. It is, lower income, more minorities, but it really, if you were to drive through Ferguson on a normal day, you wouldn't feel like you were in any place that you had to get out of quickly.
Right, we're not talking about the worst parts of Chicago
Sure.
or South Central or something, right? We're talking about a tiny little town. And I don't know, I wish somebody would dig into this, but shouldn't your police represent demographically your population?
I don't know what the police population. Yes, it should, and I don't know if the police population there does. I think
no. I know for a fact it doesn't.
It doesn't.
It's
okay.
like the population. It's something like 80% black, 20% white, and the police department is the opposite. It's like 80% white, 20% black. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying we should have quotas, but I'm just saying, how does it get to there? Like, was this a long process? Did it used to be they had a lot of black cops and then all the black cops quit? Or, like, how do you go? Like, why do you have a town where you basically do have white people running a black town? That just seems so odd to me.
But that's one of the biggest issues we have across the country, everywhere now. I mean, there's
but like
still,
in the Twin Cities, most of the cops are white, but the population is very white.
I don't know if we're reflective here.
And I don't think in Cincinnati or Atlanta that you're going to have 90% or 80% white police forces. I could be wrong, but I just think that this is a very weird example here.
I mean, maybe, but I wouldn't think any differently for a city that is low income, has an issue with poverty or an issue with gangs or whatever it is. I would think that most of the time those cop populations are going to be white. I think that's a sad fact.
Yeah,
it's something that
possibly
needs to change, because not only is that helping, black men and women in these positions, give them a new opportunity. You want to be able to relate to the people who are protecting you.
Yeah.
Right? And when you have a community the people that are protecting you are so different, have so different interests and different upbringing, how are you going to trust them? And that's why there needs to be more of a balance there, absolutely.
And I just think that it's just I wish it were just crazy that they're still protesting. I mean, that should be crazy, because something should have been done a little bit by now. I mean, you had the Department of Justice coming out saying that it is true from their review that the police department there is acting with racial bias. That they came out and said that, but they would not charge Darren Wilson either. So what it seems like you have here is this. Look, what Michael Brown did. Michael Brown was a criminal. I mean, he literally committed a crime right before what happened to him happened. So you can. I'm trying to word this right, but what you've had here is a terrible overreaction from a white police officer, and maybe a terrible overreaction, possibly too, from the black community.
Yep.
But it's also because it's on top of a pile of other incidents that we've never heard about, we don't know about, and obviously has played a huge role in this community for years and years and years.
Absolutely. And black communities across the country deal with this every day. We've talked about this. This is not just Ferguson. This is not just New York. This is so many different cities across the country are dealing with this. Like we just said, too many white cops. There isn't this balance of the cops are not reflective of what the actual population is like, and militarization of our police force.
Well, probably the scariest part.
Right, and obviously not being able to deal correctly with incidents like this. There's a complete overreaction on so many different levels across the country.
I'm so happy. I think we're lucky you didn't just see them open fire on that crowd, or at least open fire in the general direction of where those shots came from. I think that, okay, first of all, I want to say that.
You're talking about the cops.
The cops showed remarkable restraint in this situation. I want to point that out. And I also want to point out, okay, let's say that this is a relatively intelligent person that did this. Let's say this isn't an insane person that did this. You shot two cops that don't even fucking work there.
Right.
They're help. They're outside help that's been brought in.
I think we can all
You're
agree
not even, like, serving your own purpose.
Right. I think we can all agree that person was not serving their purpose. I'm good, thank you. Everyone agrees that probably was not, on both sides, that is not what anyone wanted to happen. I mean, things were changing. The mayor was stepping down. The police chief was stepping down. Things that I think people wanted to happen as a result of this were happening, and this single individual screwed it up for a lot of peaceful protesters that had been out there exercising their right in a peaceful manner every single day. They
and I
screwed it up.
definitely want to mention, I was reading a little bit more about this right before you got here, and it sounds to me that this person was not part of the demonstration. This
I
was a
don't think
person
so.
outside of the group.
So that it'll be interesting to see if they can figure out who this was and what their motive was.
Well, it sounds
for
like the protesters that were there, that were eyewitnesses, are totally cooperating. They are trying to get this guy as well. But they made a point of that in the last article that I read. But I also want to say too that just I don't give a shit if this guy has been a protester the entire time. What he did is A, not good. It's B, not what the protest itself is about or should be about, and C, is not helping the cause, as we've already said.
Right.
All right. We got pretty serious last night. That was obviously very serious.
It was like kind of fun serious though.
Yeah, well, yeah, I agree. Yeah, but you know what? I want to lighten it up a little bit tonight. So we won't talk about the Simpsons creator dying yet.
But I think Sam would like us to laugh through the discussion about him. Let's be real.
That's true too.
That guy
Actually,
laughed all the way through his treatment and everything he went through. So.
Especially when he got paid to leave, or when he left. Jesus. And this isn't the lightest of light, but it's movie related. So for crying out loud, don't take this too seriously. But obviously, some people are. This scene in Boyhood. Now, I think I want you to. Okay, first of all, do you want to describe the two scenes? Basically, they say it's one scene, but there's two scenes that happen here that are talked about, that are drawing some controversy.
Sure.
And there's a reason for it that I get, but I also maybe disagree with. So I don't know. Do you want to describe the scenes, and
sure.
then we'll go from there?
The first scene is her name. Actually, her character's name is just Mom. She's never given a name.
Yeah.
Patricia Arquette's character. She's standing outside, talking to two men, they're Mexican, who are fixing her a drain or something like that, something in her backyard. And she's talking to one of them, and she turns to him briefly, and she just says, "You know what? You're really smart. You should go to school, and you do well." And that's it. And she kind of walks away.
As she's walking away.
As she's walking away, she just kind of offhandedly says that to him. They've had conversations back and forth very briefly about the work that he's been doing at the house. Fast forward to an hour later in the movie, which is probably, 5 years later or something like that.
That's kind of cool that you could describe it that way.
Yeah, for sure.
And it literally was 5 years later.
Yep. Mom and boy and sister, main characters, are all sitting at a table at a restaurant. And the same man comes up and he says, "I just want to say thank you, because you told me 5 years ago that I was smart and that I could go to school and that I could do what I wanted to do. And now I'm the assistant manager of a restaurant, and I'm doing really well, and I got my degree," and whatever it was. And he thanks her, and they all kind of stare at him, and she says, "Well, oh, great, thank you." And he walks away. And the controversy, should we go into that already?
Yeah.
The controversy is that, well, there's a couple different things going on, is that there was really no Mexican representation in this movie. Latinos, Mexicans, which are a huge population in Texas and a huge part of Texas culture and Texas society. And that really bothered people, that the whole movie revolved around a white family, the struggles of a white family, and there was really no crossover. And so you get into kind of this same thing that the movie The Help, the same kind of issue that people had with The Help are having with Boyhood, is that this white savior kind of came in and gave him this magical advice and helped this poor minority come up from,
right.
Like low income.
Without Miss Whitey,
right,
he never would have been that assistant manager
of the
at that restaurant.
And never gotten his degree. And then how offhandedly she doesn't really remember him. And she just kind of stares at him blankly and just says, "You're welcome. I'm glad I could help." And the kids don't really have a reaction to him. And so the whole thing was odd and slightly controversial.
Okay. Now, give me your opinion on it.
So I watched that scene, and it struck me for a moment. And I was kind of
when you originally saw
it. When I originally watched the movie, the scene came to the restaurant. And I was kind of like, why aren't they reacting to him strongly? Because if someone said that to me, I'd be like, wow, That's cool. I'm so happy. Let's grab a drink sometime. You know what I mean?
Right.
Dang, and it felt out of place. It felt the race thing didn't really resonate with me quite yet, and it's resonating with me more now. But it felt out of place. Something about that scene felt odd to me, and I couldn't put my finger on it.
And do you now think, because maybe it was a little racist? Is this article that we're talking about, has it explained that?
Well,
for
and
you,
I'm kind of giving Richard Linklater,
yeah,
the benefit of the doubt here. I'm kind of thinking like that is a little bit of a touch on how white people can be so fucking disconnected from real issues that people have.
Okay. I think it's genius either way. The scene. They're the two scenes, okay? And here's why. If he did this on purpose, if he was this smart, to where he wrote this so well, to where to where Miss Whitey, again, as I like, because she doesn't have a name, so it's fun to call her that, especially if you're going to make this a racial thing. Miss Whitey just flippantly, just as she's walking away, God, you're kind of smart. Why don't you get a job? Or, why don't you better yourself? That's kind of, that's the gist of what she said, right? And she's thinking, like,
smart. You should get a job.
Now, okay, and she could be thinking one of two things. A, I'm saying that because he's brown and he's less than me, and I'm no better than him, so I'll give him life advice.
Sure.
That's definitely a possibility, and and to me, that's a possibility that Linklater wrote it that way, or it's also a possibility that she just saw a dude that was probably doing a job he maybe didn't like,
right.
And he did sound smart, and she just kind of went, "Hey, you're smart. Why don't do something yourself?" It didn't have to be racist at all. But I did love, so let me finish. So then when you get to the dinner scene, or when he comes up to her, again, it doesn't have to be racist. It could have just been, again, some guy working on something in your yard or on the house, whatever it was, and you just mentioned it. You're not going to remember that. It wasn't life-changing to her at all.
No, you're not going to remember that.
And again, especially if she wasn't being racist, she wouldn't have thought she was being life-changing. She would have just thought, like, oh, hey, dude, you're smart.
We had a great conversation. You're doing a good job. I can tell you don't like your work.
And I'm thinking, actually, it almost becomes more memorable to her if she's really at one point in her life going, hey, brown guy, I'm white, I'm smarter than you. This is what you should do. That would almost be more memorable to me. So the fact that she is so, like, oblivious to this when he says it, to me just shows that she's just a normal person. Now, again, you can make it racial or not, possibly, because I think that's a white privilege thing, too. She could have just been like, yes, I do know what brown people should be doing with themselves, and no, I don't give a fuck what you're doing now. That could totally be the scene. But it also could have been like, I was just talking to a dude and didn't really think anything of it, and don't think anything of it now. Like, I think that's okay. Like, it's actually kind of cool. Like, she was just like, oh, good for you. Like, this, because cool. I think it would be almost gross if she goes, oh, wow, aren't I special? Look what I did. I changed this guy's life. I love that she just kind of blinked at him like, all right, dude, like, thanks for the meal. I thought that was actually brilliant. Again, for whatever motive Linklater had, I think the scenes are brilliant.
They are. I would just love to hear his reasoning behind it. Did he have a reason? I mean, he's a very smart guy, so it could go one of two ways. Like I said, he could have purposely put like the one Mexican dude in the film in this role, right? And made a statement about how. But the only problem is I don't think things like this really happen in real life. I don't think flippantly anyone can say to someone, I don't know, like, hey, you're smart, get a job. I don't think that's going to change anyone's life.
I think he was trying to make a stars cross moment. That I think you're right. It's a stretch. At best, it's a stretch. If he had been a student of hers, if she had been more involved in his life in some way, I would have believed it more. I don't believe it because I don't think that flippant of a remark is going to be taken seriously by anybody, by the person who says it or by the person who's receiving it, right? So I'm trying to. I would love to see what he thinks about this scene. And I totally understand. Like, when I read that, I was going, and by the way, when I watched the movie the first time, I didn't think anything of it.
I just thought
So
it felt out of place to me. But that's why I would really like to know his reasoning for it, because, like I said, it could be there for a very specific purpose, and he could have very well cast that guy to make a point, or he could be so fucking white and so fucking oblivious, like all of us white people,
Right.
that he didn't even realize what he was doing, and he was just trying to have a stars crossed moment.
Right. In either way, no matter what, he was doing something, because that
Yes.
we need an obvious or a Captain Obvious button or something.
No matter what.
But what I mean by that is that the scene, like you said, it seemed out of place when you saw it, right? So it wasn't necessary. It didn't provide anything to the story of the movie.
But it relates. But then it also relates to the next scene that you see her in. That is her final scene in the movie.
What happens again?
She turns to her son and she says, "I just thought there would be more."
Oh, yes.
And that is how her role in the movie ends, is her essentially saying life went by really...
At the graduation party?
Right after.
Okay.
And he's packing up his stuff, moving out to college, and she says, "I just thought there would be more." And after she's had this moment of essentially changing someone's life, and that's her thought process, is I thought there was going to be more for me. And that is fascinating to me.
Again, to me, that seems like... Again, she wasn't looking at that as a big moment in her life at all, and it wasn't trying to be, which I think is cool and less racist. I think it's more racist if she thought more of it. I don't know.
Yeah,
and I could be wrong completely.
It would be interesting to see if he was just trying to have like that effect where, she changed someone's life, but in the end, to her, it really didn't matter. Would that have less of an effect if the guy was a white guy? Like, did he really have to be Mexican? Was there a reason for making this guy Mexican? Maybe. And if he wasn't, would it still have the same effect of the scene?
Again, if you're going to make a movie over 12 years and you're going to get a guy that's in 2 scenes for a total of 90 seconds to commit to doing scenes 5 years apart, there's got to be a purpose. So
Sure.
I just don't think Linklater's racist. I have nothing to base that on other than I just like his stuff.
No, I don't think he is either.
So I just and his stuff is so open-minded to me. That's where I'm getting that from. It's not like I just like his movies, so therefore I hope he's not racist. It's just what he says is so intelligent and stuff. I just can't see him being racist.
No, I don't think he's racist. I think that's not the argument. The argument is, was he so blind to the fact that there is a white minority savior issue going on here in our culture, in our movies and TV and things like that? Or did he put that guy there for a reason to make this exact point?
And I guess what I'm
know.
saying is I think that it would be racist if you did it by accident. You know what I mean? That is racist. If you don't realize what you did there, that to me is just that
I think that's
that
ignorance.
White privilege.
I think that's ignorance. That's
racism.
not racism.
You know what I mean?
That's
but
ignorance. That's not
ignorance
racism.
leads to a lot of racism, I guess,
Sure.
if anything.
Sure.
All right. Well, sorry, I needed one more sip of Saga there.
Before we take the break.
Before we take a break,
I have to take another
I need
break.
to take a sip, and then I'll take another sip once we get to the break. Okay. What do we? Do we want? Damn it! There's a lot I want to get to. There's so much I want to get to.
Oh, well, we better take a break.
We'll take a break. We'll discuss, and just stay right there.
The Rusty Gatenby Review is the entertaining show about entertainment from movies, music, and more. Award-winning TV guy Rusty Gatenby and his review is the podcast with the biggest cast in entertainment, part of the Alive and Social Network. You can get that Minnesota connection to Hollywood and beyond any time of the day or night simply by clicking on the RustyGatenbyReview.com. That's the RustyGatenbyReview.com, part of the Alive and Social Network.
And we're back. Minnesota Pubcast. What is this? I like this. Oh, this is The Doors.
This is
I had to hear.
tiny story behind this song, actually, or short story.
I gotta listen to the Doors more. I fucking love the Doors.
See-
I fucking love the Doors.
I really, really like the Doors. They have some songs that I love. I can't say I love them, and it's that damn organ. I don't
you
need
don't
an
like the
organ.
organ?
I don't think in any of my music, really.
I was gonna say
don't
that
think.
brings me back to the 70s, but I was not alive then.
The little hippie here.
Just brings me back, man.
But no, that song, I had never heard that song, and my dad, I grew up listening to all rock and stuff.
Show has been.
No, we don't do a lot of light lately.
No.
I try to keep it light.
We're like, let's go. Let's stay light.
But you know what? Even when
Talking
we're talking
about
about
race
racism
relations.
and cops being shot, we're still doing it in the most lighthearted possible way. Which I don't know if is a good thing.
I'm not sure either.
Just saying it's true. So the Blurred Lines, the Marvin Gaye estate sued Robin Thicke and Pharrell after the most popular song of 2013 or was that 2014?
2014 of last
That was
summer?
a summer
Or was it
song.
the summer before that?
That's what I mean. I think it was 2 summers ago. I think it was Happy last summer. Maybe it was both. But so you get these 2 songs, and we're gonna give you a little audio here so you can get them back to back and make your own determination. But I'm really scared by this verdict. I keep reading and hearing other people that know way more about music to me that are also scared by this verdict.
Sure.
So actually, let's play the audio so you guys have a chance to hear this if you never have. You know both the songs, at least I definitely did, and I'm not a huge Marvin Gaye guy, but he definitely has some great tracks, and this is one of them. And so we'll play this little YouTube video that I have for you with the back-to-back songs, and we'll come back and comment.
Everybody get up.
I think you get the idea.
I'm still not sick of that song.
The Blurred
Blurred
Lines?
Not really.
Oh my god, I'm so sick of it. I hate it.
I don't know. I mean, I haven't listened to it for a while, I guess. So now when it
Yes.
comes on, I'm
Well,
like, oh.
I work in
yeah.
a bar, and it was played so often, and it's still
Well, yeah.
because it's like top 40 radio where they always wait like 2 months after a song kind of fades away, and then they bring it back again, and so the jukebox does that as well, and I still hear it, but I hear influence in that song, abso-fucking-lutely.
Yes.
I don't hear copyright infringement. I don't hear stealing a song.
No.
I mean, and honestly, and this is where I get it the most. And you
I
tell
mean,
me,
this is like the Tom Petty, Sam Smith thing.
see, I never listened to those ones
Yes.
back to back. Did you?
Yes, we did on this show.
But was it like that where you could put? Was it melded together, or did we do like?
we
were we
listened
trying to
to-
do off my phone? Was it that night?
Yeah, but we listened to it.
I don't remember how similar they were.
It's a little more far-fetched than this one. And
It's even
Sam,
worse that way. I mean,
No, more far-fetched as in I don't think that he
Yeah.
was copied. But
So this is
he
scary.
didn't give him any. Sam Smith didn't give him any money. He was just like, I'm just going to give you songwriting credit, and he put fucking Tom Petty's name on his album.
I thought that included money. I
no,
thought that was
he
why
just
they
gave
did
him
that.
credit for
Really?
writing the song. It was
Okay.
That was
I
it.
thought I even heard today they were talking about Petty getting money.
Oh, well, I'll double check.
I could be wrong.
And Tom Petty was like, no, man, that's cool. Stuff happens. Like, you didn't copy me, but, it just sounds the same. Like, dude, if you're admitting essentially that he didn't outwardly copy you and things just overlap because it's fucking music and it's pop music, to say the least. Well, pop rock. Come on.
No.
Anyway, sorry.
No,
let's get
no,
back to
no,
this.
no. Just there's a bunch of ways of looking
I mean,
at this.
thank you, Tom Petty, for being kind about it. And they obviously solved it on
They
their
settled
own
it out of
accord.
court, yeah.
They did, and that's great. But
apparently, the reason this one went to court was because a lot of musicians think this one's very important, and I do too. Because, I mean, as a podcaster, I am right now. I'm everything I've listened to up to this point. Am I not? I mean, I've got influences by Rush Limbaugh and Joe Souchere, and then you've got Tommy Mischke and P.A. and Dubé and Dan Barrero and God knows how many other shows I listened to over the last 20 years. I have been influenced, and I guarantee you that I say things, and part of my style in this show are you could say, oh, well, he got that from there, or that's like that. And this song, you can definitely tell it could have been influenced by it. It could have even been one of those things where it's just a rhythm in your head, and you went, God, that sounds familiar, but let's go with it, and then they changed it up, And that chord progression in there is so different. And that was one of the things that I read that they were talking about is so different too.
I have some stuff up about
and
it,
if you look at damn near every popular artist. Okay, actually, here's the best comparison. I hate that it becomes race, but black comics. It has to be black in this case for this reason. You can say who's the most popular right now? Is it still Chris Rock, or would you say there's somebody bigger than that?
Well, Dave Chappelle was probably first.
Chappelle was post rock. Okay, but you would say, everybody would say Chappelle got his stuff from Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy got all his stuff from Richard Pryor.
Yeah.
Richard Pryor got all of his stuff from like Lenny Bruce or from other people.
Sure.
But they're all awesome. And
They
they all
are.
made their own shit.
And you yes,
You know
absolutely.
what I mean? And so I don't want Eddie Murphy to never get to do Raw because it was kind of like what Richard Pryor used to do.
Right.
And therefore, I don't want the Beatles to not exist because they weren't like everybody they're influenced by.
Well, and I don't think that
Like
makes
Chuck Berry and-
right.
and
And yes, I don't think that makes anyone less talented. Like these people that are musicians or comedians, whatever, they're not up there just straight copied. You can't just go up there and copy with no talent, with no smarts, with no, that's fucking impossible. And so those guys wouldn't have gotten to where they were without having their own extreme amounts of talent and extreme amounts of hard work and their own material.
Yes.
And
No,
their own material.
what I just heard from you was, yes, okay, they could have taken the exact beat, everything about it, and had shitty lyrics, or a bad idea, or a not fun party song, because Blurred Lines is a fun party song, whether you agree with it or think it's sexist as hell and
Sure.
damn near, well, we won't go down that road. But either way, if you don't make that song with those lyrics and that beat and that, which was different, it's not going to be popular. So even if you did copy the other song, if you don't do something to make it different, you either A, you're not going to sell it, or B, you just have to call it a remake, which then you owe royalties anyway. So either way, the system kind of works in and of its or for itself. But my big thing on this now is I almost think this might be a moot point now that music is all about the only way you make money is from live shows, right? Like that's where you really make the money anyway. Selling albums is not a business anymore. Not really. There's so much other stuff put around it now to make the money. And from what I gather, especially even the big artists, it's all about the tour. That's where you make your money.
Tour and strange, and now I've seen lately really weird product placement in music videos.
Well, they always meld.
like-
And that's brilliant.
What?
Really? Jay-Z
Like-
has a clothesline or a clothing line. They've been doing that stuff for a long time. The weird cross-promoting.
The one that I saw that was the strangest to me was Jennifer Lopez's Booty. Have you seen that music video? It's fairly recent.
With Iggy Azalea?
With Iggy Azalea,
Okay,
yes.
right,
So the whole thing.
No. Go.
So the
Please
whole
tell
thing
me.
is like super, kind of like minimalist, and it's just them in these kind of swimsuits, kind of wet in a shower, dancing, and then all of a sudden, in the middle of the fucking music video, they're putting on EOS lip balm. It's like,
Now, for some reason, I didn't catch that when I watched that video.
well, I love
2 or 3
EOS,
times.
and that's why I caught it. And I was like, really? That's how you're gonna put your product into something? In a very art directed music video where your product really does stand out. There's no subtlety in their product being there, and I wouldn't like, it's one thing just to kind of slide it in the background, but it's like all of a sudden they're in the shower and then they're putting on lip balm.
I wonder. I guarantee it worked, and I guarantee they got paid.
Love that stuff. Okay, I will read a little block of what we're describing here. So essentially, when they went to court, they compared the sheet music of Blurred Lines to Marvin Gaye's song. And here's the problem in that in itself. There are untold things that static sheet music cannot capture: tone, feel, intensity, texture, all of which are important to modern songwriting as the notes, and probably more so. Relying on the sheet music exposes a generational bias too, implicit in the premise of the case that Mr. Gaye's version of songwriting is somehow more serious than what Mr. Williams, as in Pharrell Williams, does, since it is the one that the law is designed to protect. There is, it should be said, a similarity in the bass lines of the two songs, and perhaps more broadly in their shared funk feel. And it's likely that Mr. Thicke and Mr. Williams didn't help their case by contending in interviews that the song's release, including the one in the New York Times, they owed literal debts to Mr. Gaye and specifically got to give it up.
Well, and I thought I heard today that Thicke said something about being drunk or on drugs when they wrote it, or when he wrote it, and so that was an excuse or something?
He was high every time he was in the studio and every appearance. Well, God, shut the fuck up, man.
And
You're
I
not
heard
helping
that actually
yourself.
that hurt their case completely.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, well, maybe that's why I didn't realize you were plagiarizing. Like,
right.
That would be who's his lawyer? Like, how did you let him say that? I mean, unless he was just questioned and said that idiotically.
He's a little bit of a mess right now, which I don't, obviously, you just said has not helped him.
Well, and imagine that guy's life to begin with. I mean, being, what's his name's son, and I didn't even realize that until after that song came out.
Being Alan Thicke's son is like some difficulty?
I think that a lot of those Hollywood kids that are like either stars
Would
or
we
child
call Alan
or children
Thicke
of.
a big Hollywood star, though?
No, not at all. No, what I'm saying is he grew up as the son of one, and you're just a rich kid in Hollywood, and you're not a star even. Like, you don't even have anybody watching over you. Like, that, to me, that's almost scarier. And the fact that he became anybody is maybe, well, that's actually probably easier for him. But
so they're saying they should have, from the beginning, contained the phrase in the album contains an interpolation of. That generally means the song borrows from something else, but in a way that's less an actual sample, heavily repurposed lyric, or a melody. It can feel like a legally codified version of a goodwill gesture. Certainly, Blurred Lines might have benefited from such a designation up front.
If Blurred Lines takes out the cowbell, they're fine.
Ding,
You
ding,
wouldn't have
ding,
even,
ding,
no one would have
ding,
made
ding, ding,
the
ding,
comparison.
ding,
But and I do love too. Last thing before we'll take our last break here, but the estate, after this came out, I think it was Marvin Gaye's daughter or something came out and basically was saying like how this is a huge win and this is, we had to do this, and something about was it something like this is like a win for the little man or something in some way? It wasn't those words, but
she's happy that she's free from Pharrell Williams' lies.
Yes.
And she's free from, it was like so fucking dramatic.
And
like, really? Like, you're struggling, the Marvin Gaye family
Thank
isn't
you.
doing well?
They won $7 million. They asked for something like 23, and I'm just going, what the fuck have you ever done? And you are doing just fine. Like,
right.
And you get another $7 million, but you're just the daughter of, like, you. There's a case to be made that money shouldn't even necessarily go to your kids. Now, I think it should. But there's a case to be made that you didn't earn it. Why the fuck does that automatically go to you? You know what I mean? So,
well, right.
To me, I get a little spoiled brat
Sure.
syndrome out of that.
Sure. And you were correct.
And they might not be at all. I don't know.
I will add, you were correct. Tom Petty did get songwriting credits and a part of some royalties. So I don't know what the undisclosed
and because
amount
it's
is,
undisclosed, We don't know. Sam
Right.
Smith might have been like, dude, I'm so sorry. Here's 50%.
Well, he's a poor guy. Just released his first album, and
what
he's
is
probably
he,
like,
23
I don't.
years old? I mean,
Yeah,
he's a kid.
He is a kid.
And
Talented kid.
I don't. Just think about. I mean, you're a breaking artist. You know, you're about to be like the #1 new artist, and Tom Petty calls you up. He's like, "Hey, fucker."
He's like, "Oh, man, I'm so sorry."
Sounds a lot like mine. Like I'd just be going, "What do you need? What do I do? What do you want to meet? Do you want coffee? I'll buy you anything." Like, oh, I mean, you just
Sounded like Jerry Seinfeld for a minute there.
I'll take that as a compliment. I've been called Larry David before, so now you got the combo. All right, last break. We'll come back and get into whatever the hell we're going to get into.
Hi, everybody. This is Alyssa.
And this is Liz.
And we're with the Focus Radio.
Where our focus is to bring you resources to grow your business and double your income.
Join us on Mondays from 3 to 4 p.m. Central Time at FocusRadio.com.
Hi, I'm Terry Dane, and I've been a voice actor in Minneapolis for over 2 decades now. How often are you getting compliments on your voice? Now is the time to do something about it. If you're interested in getting into voiceovers, please contact me via my website at universalvoicetalent.com.
Ain't no way to explain or say how painful the hangover was today. In front of the toilet, hands and knees, trying to breathe in between the dry heaves. My baby made me some coffee, afraid that if I drink some, it's probably coming right back out me. Couple of Advil.
I don't know if I've ever related to a song more on a hangover day. Oh my god, that is so right on.
Do you feel cool when this is playing and you're on the board?
What do you mean?
Like, like you're the producer of that song.
I feel like I'm owed some royalties, if that's what you mean.
Like,
yes.
Do you feel like I'm in the studio right now holding this mic and you're in there?
And I'm Ant.
Yeah,
and,
you're
and
Ant,
Slug,
and you're fixing my levels.
That's exactly how I feel.
Okay, cool.
Exact
that's
same
how
thing.
I feel too. I just wanted to make sure we were on the same page.
We always are. All right. Sam was it? Sorry, I want to make sure I say it right. Yeah, it is Sam Simon.
We were just talking about Sam Smith.
Well, okay, yeah, Sam Smith might have messed that up. Sam Simon, co-creator of The Simpsons, passed, and he passed to colon/rectal cancer, is what I heard, and that hits home for me because that's what my mom had. So
yeah, that's what my aunt had too.
Really, so and that's where this is a thing where every single person. I don't think I know anybody who hasn't been. It directly would obviously mean you have it, I guess, but somehow touched by cancer. And obviously I can't think of it ever being in a good way. So everybody hates cancer. It's the fucking most evil thing in the world. Sam Simon passed to the one that, like I said, is a personal one for me. We have, within the Alive and Social network right now, we have people dealing with this in their families. So this one hits home. I wanted to talk a little bit about The Simpsons itself because it has been such a huge part of our culture. I want to just touch on that. But first, I don't even know, I mentioned it to you briefly before we started, but have you heard or seen this Vice special about killing cancer?
No.
Have you even heard of this?
No, I haven't heard of it.
Fantastic. It's on HBO. Vice has a series on there.
I like Vice's articles.
Yeah, no, and Vice is it's kind of an alternative news for those that don't know about it, and they do documentaries.
Good essays and
great writing. Go Vice.com. I mean, they got all kinds of great stuff going on, and they're very smart, and they're on top of giving you real news. And I've only watched the preview. I was about to watch the episode today on HBO where it talks about this this killing cancer. And it started out where they were digging into a guy's brain, and I can't do that.
You can't do that?
I had to run away. I can't do that. I was reading about this recently too. It's built into us, and it is part of nature, and it's totally on purpose, and most of us do have it. But when I look at someone going through any kind of pain, I do feel it, and I know that most people do. Like, I'm not special in that, but I swear I'm like even more in tune than usual. Like, did you see 187 Hours? Or is that what it was called? Or do you know what I'm talking about? And he had to cut the tendon.
Yeah,
you remember that part? I had to
I
skip that shit. I can't do that. I can't. And I was dying watching it. I mean, freaking out.
Makes me. I mean, I guess I get squeamish.
I was like,
but I don't feel the. I'm not like.
turned into Jeff Dubay.
My arm hurts.
I turned into Jeff Dubay while he's doing a podcast.
These guys are looking at me like, "What the fuck are you yelling?"
I was flopping around like, "Oh my god, no!" Like, it was the most disgusting thing to me ever.
Why? okay, that sounds like a bit of an overreaction, Jason.
I'm not. I'm saying I do overreact to that. That's my point.
You knew going into that movie what it was going to be like.
I'm just saying that scene I had to go past. That's all. But my point, though, is that I couldn't watch the special, but I did watch this 5-minute preview that they have out there. And the whole basis of this thing is they're using deadly diseases
Yes.
to kill cancer.
Yeah.
Which is what a. First of all, how crazy is life? That's how shit works.
Well,
we
yeah.
take HIV and measles and all these crazy, potentially harmful diseases, and now we're possibly using it to save lives. So
It's fascinating.
The whole basis is you can use these things to cure certain cancers, and they're and that's the mighty word too, is we're no longer treating. They think we may be to curing cancer.
And this is happening. I haven't watched it yet, so I don't know if they reference. I would assume they reference what I'm about to say in the documentary, but they, University of Minnesota Medical Center, has done some groundbreaking work on. They've taken leukemia patients at death's door, essentially, and this as a last resort. They've pumped them full of HIV. And multiple times now, you have to suppress your immune system. The AIDS virus attacks the cancer. And if you can survive that immune system suppressant, where you get even sicker than what you are.
You're so susceptible to everything else at that point, yep.
If you can come out of that, you're cured of cancer. That's happened before.
Now, obviously,
multiple times. It's becoming, like you said, it's now becoming a more widely used. It's still obviously in like the testing stages.
Yeah. But it's at a point now where Vice is doing a special on it, and doctors are willing to say, hey, yes, we're close. So, I mean, we're getting to a certain level where I think this is at least we're on the brink, and they're saying within our lifetime at least.
Yes.
Which, I mean, you told somebody that 20 years ago, they'd say, fuck that, cancer's so hard, we'll never figure this out. We're possibly getting there. But so to me, this brings up a question. Now, obviously, this is a great thing. Like, we want to kill cancer. But, and I don't necessarily believe in overpopulation, but even just from want to take a step back and really be, I don't know, not flippant, but just kind of gross with this, but from a political standpoint almost, your seniors are going to live a lot longer.
We're going to be living
happens.
a long time.
I mean,
really, we are.
Is cancer, heart disease is number one.
Yeah.
Cancer is number 2, right?
I think so.
I mean, you're talking about the second leading cause of death in, I would think, pretty much every developed country. Holy shit.
Yeah.
The population's at 7.5 billion right now. If we kill the death rate and keep the birth rate at where it is, and again, so I'm not trying to be negative about a great thing, but Jesus, this could be very scary, actually.
Well, we have to, regardless of whether we cure cancer or not, we have to start coming up with ways to control population.
Well, we just moved to Mars. We've already talked about that. Right?
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, China's so fucked up over there, but I sometimes agree with their one-child limit. Not about the getting rid of the girls part.
Yeah, I don't like the forced.
I don't like that.
I like having a guideline.
But what do
I like
you,
that idea. Like,
sure.
hey guys, let's not have a bunch of kids. Like, hey, can we please slow that down?
Here, you get some
but the
tax
fact that we're
breaks for
kill
having
them,
a child, one child only.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to pay taxes if you only have a kid. Have 3 kids? Yeah, you
I
don't
like
have to pay more
incentive.
taxes.
I like incentive. I don't like the murder. I like incentive.
Incentive, sure, I like that. China's is a little extreme, and then it forces people to go.
Now, hold on,
really
if
do
I'm
horrible
Mr. Captain
people.
Obvious, you just said China is a little extreme.
But I think some people would really agree with that. I think some people would say the only way to control a population of a country that has 1 billion people, that has a seventh of the world's population, is to really put rigorous implements in like that. That's the only way to control something like that.
Well, I think that the planet's got that figured out. I mean,
planet.
We will reach a certain level where the Earth won't sustain it.
Yes.
So we don't have to necessarily.
Before we get to that point, people are saying, in order to stay here on this Earth, what do we have to do? And one of those things would be population control. And some people agree with a more rigorous rule.
And again,
I sometimes do agree with that.
And I understand concern in that area, but I also, they were saying this world will never be able to handle 6 billion people. No way. There's going to be no water, no food, shortages, war, everything.
Sure.
And then we went to 7 billion. And now we're at 7.5.
Well, you hope.
And now they're like, well, but you just can't go past 9. Like, no. And if you even just look at the United States, and I don't know how much of an argument this is, but I remember Sushrey making this argument all the time, and it's decent. But, I mean, we have a lot of empty space still on this planet.
We have a lot of empty space. We don't have a lot of resources.
Yeah,
and
that's the
thankfully,
difference.
we have come up with ways that, we're able to renewable resources, solar power, whatever. But that has to keep up. Our advancements in technology have to keep up with our population growth.
And you know
what,
what,
when it comes down to it, it kind of doesn't matter how many people are on, as long as we have the technology that we're not wasting our non-renewable resources.
And here's where this is why I'm Mr. Anti-government and all that too, is where I think that the solution to that problem will not be solved by governments demanding you can't have a certain amount of children. The reason, or the way that's going to be fixed, is when we get damn near that brink that I said, that breaking point where there's just too many people and the Earth can't sustain it. Innovation will come through at that point because it's a necessity.
Right,
it's like the Industrial Revolution.
Well, you
was
hope that
forced,
we don't go. I mean, now we're getting to global warming, but you hope that we don't go over that point where we can't get the Earth back to a place where it's healthy anymore. And
well, and there
that's
again,
kind of the whole thing.
Even global warming or population control, whatever it is, and I don't know if I'm disagreeing with you in any way or not, but the Earth is going to be here and life is going to be here far beyond humans and was far before humans.
Yeah.
And I do believe we impact life and our own life, but also the ecological system, the whole entire Earth. I do believe we impact that. But I don't think...
How you could not.
Right.
It's just so...
7.5 billion of us. There's no way we're not.
self-centered to me.
But I do think this planet will always figure itself out. If we become a nuisance to it enough, it'll get rid of us.
Sure. Yes, absolutely. We're going to die off if we can't figure out how to take care of it.
Right.
Absolutely will.
And the Earth will continue, and other life will continue. So I feel like sometimes people think that that we're going to destroy the Earth. No, we're going to destroy the Earth for humans.
Yes.
And
yes,
maybe
for
too
the
fucking
life
bad.
that we
maybe
know,
we are so
yes.
conceited, and we think so much of ourselves that maybe we deserve not to have this Earth anymore. So I get I get where we're saying we got to fix that. Let's stop being that. But I also think maybe we just get what we deserve too. Stop. Again, and the only place where I want it not to be a thing is I don't want governments to start telling people you have to abort that baby.
No,
that's where I don't want to get to.
I mean, that is a scary point. It's just, like I said, our technology isn't really keeping up with our population growth. So that is one way of kind of keeping those more in check, is through some sort of population limits.
Regression or something.
Sure. I'm going to call it that.
I mean, because they're still growing, obviously.
Right.
And
slowing the growth, speeding up the innovation.
And they just became the top economy in the world recently. We've never talked about that. I'm not. I like economics, but what are we going to give you, a fucking stock update? I mean, but I do find that interesting.
Don't make me talk about the economy, man.
But no, the part about that's interesting, just culturally, as we do definitely talk a lot on this show, is for the first time in my lifetime, and obviously your lifetime too, we aren't the number one economy in the world, and that's maybe this is a competition thing. Maybe this is a good thing. Maybe we need a kick in the ass. Maybe we need to be 5th. Maybe we need to be 10th, and then finally we'll go, hey, let's fix this. We're doing something wrong. So I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. And what's interesting too is that they became that by. I may be taking this a little far. You tell me if I am. But I would say China's economy became as powerful and big as it is because they started doing things like us. Would you say that that's incorrect?
Started doing things. Doing things like us.
They freed up their economy in a way.
Sure.
They're still communist and they're still very controlled, but they freed it up in a way where it allowed investment and free market a little, and therefore they became huge.
Yeah, I don't know.
I just want to take credit for them becoming bigger than us. That's all. God, I'm just trying to say we made the system that started it.
The people have something to do with it.
All right, well.
Oh my God, we didn't even get to talk about The Simpsons.
We didn't even get to talk about The Simpsons. It was a great show, and I loved it. All right, we talked about The Simpsons.
I will not be seeing you for another week, so you won't be hearing my voice for a while. You're going to have some guests on next week. I'll be in sunny Scottsdale.
Rub it in.
Well, it's going to be nice here, too, so.
Jeff Dubay will join me on Wednesday down at Bennett's after Wild Wednesday, and I'll let you know about the Thursday one as soon as I know. So till then, we'll see you later.